Got it.
This paper. Okay.
All right. Take it away.
All right. Good evening, and thank you for coming over. My name is Ruben Rodriguez, and like Clark say, I'm pretty new at birding and photography, just a little over a year, both of them. And somehow I was doing landscape, and I ended up doing more birding than landscape. So my photography went to birding, and somehow around last November, I became a birder. So, and I got hooked, to tell you the truth. I got so hooked that I haven't mountain biked as much in the last year as I did my whole adult life. I've been hiking with the camera and the apps for birding, and I enjoy it. And I got approached by Tali if I can do this. I guess she heard about my little trips, and that's what we're here for. At the end of this presentation, if hopefully some of you are gonna see a bird that you've never seen before. When I went to Texas the first time, that was my first birding trip. I got so many new birds, obviously with less than a year. Everything you see is new. So what we're gonna talk about is New Mexico and Texas. I've been to Texas twice, and I'm going Friday. I start driving Friday with my wife, Margaret. She's Margaret. And that's gonna be my third trip to Texas. And New Mexico once. It's not moving forward, Tali. All right. So Tali asked me to talk a little bit about this, how I do the trips.
Can't see the top half of your face.
Okay. So when I decide to go somewhere, like in this trip that I'm going now, I decided to go to a national wild refuge in the Houston area this time. So what I do is obviously the days available that I got, how many days. I start doing with Google search, you know, best birding in the Houston area. And usually I find articles from Audubon. From there, I write it down, and then I go and check eBird hotspot, and I see where there's the most bird that I haven't seen. And after that, I do a map recon to see the distance, the type of terrain, weather. From there, I do a recon in the map for hotels. And depending how many sites I'm gonna hit in one day, I try to get a centralized hotel, obviously based on my budget. And I was an infantryman, so I just need a warm bed to sleep. So meal plan, basically base, like the National Wild Refuge, they're big. And when you get in there, there's no food to buy, usually. So the night before, I already know what I'm gonna bring into the sites that I'm going to. Weather and clothing. When I talk about the New Mexico area, I'm gonna tell you a little story. The weather caught me by surprise, but I started looking at the weather and bring the right clothing. Believe it or not, Texas get cold in November and December. Birding equipment. I mean, everybody here is a birder, you know what to bring. But depending if I'm gonna hike a lot, I bring a smaller spotting scope. And if I know that I'm gonna be looking at the ocean or big lakes or big reservoirs, I bring a very big spotting scope with the biggest tripod that I got to have it very steady. and definitely your phone with your apps. And if you're gonna be taking photo, what kind of lens are you gonna bring? Are you gonna be in your feet all day? In my case, I got 3 wildlife lenses. I got a one that is 900 millimeter full frame, one that is 600 millimeter full frame, and one that is 400 millimeter full frame. The 400 that I use is for hiking. So I can be out there all day. Mexico. We're going to be talking about Las Vegas National Wild Refuge, Rio Grande Nature Center, Bernardo Wildlife Management Area. And this year, I didn't do a good recon, but it was the best for this trip. And I'll tell you here in a second. Bosque Del Apache. This was my final destination. And Maxwell, I did a recon before I left Bosque Del Apache, and it was pretty cool. So this is what New Mexico looks. Okay, Las Vegas National Wildlife Refuge. Believe it or not, this is the best photo that I got there. One of the best ones. And it's funny because I keep going to Mueller State Park looking for the elk, and I never saw one. Up to this day, I haven't seen a single one. Sorry, I left the camera. So it was a huge herd of elk. So it wasn't that many birds out there. I don't know if it was the time of the year, but it's a nice area. Driving to it, you see more birds in the wires than anything else. A lot of birds in the wire. There was at least 3 types of hawks out there that I saw. That the red-tailed hawk, they're everywhere in that area, including in the wires. They like the wires, the western meadowlark. Rio Grande Nature Center, a state park. This is a state park and it's next to the Rio Grande. It is pretty cool because they got a big blind looking at this little lake. And I'm shooting from the lake, I mean from the blind. Great road runner. It was like he knew everybody there. He wasn't scared of people. So he's I guess a resident. That was my first time seeing one. So I got lucky there. I shot this one from the blind. The wood duck. A spotted towhee, we got it here, but they had only a couple of them. I didn't see that many. Nope. The photo didn't come up on this one. Bernardo. My trip was to see the sandhill cranes. That's why I went to Bosque Del Apache for this trip. I didn't know that you can see them in Colorado. And they got a festival where, you guys know, huh? Yep, I didn't know about that either. So I said, I want to see a sandhill crane. I'm going to Bosque Del Apache. And the article, the couple articles that I read about them is Bosque Del Apache is supposed to be famous for them. So that's the reason I went in this trip. But I only saw a couple over there. And one of the park rangers told me, oh no, they're in Bernardo. The corn is better over there. Believe it or not, that's what she said to me. So I went to Bernardo and sure enough, they were there. And I got so close to them that I took this picture. Bernardo, you can walk it, but it's a driving. I believe, if I remember, it's 11-mile driving around. So that's what I did. And it's pretty cool. The picture that didn't come up, they got a welcoming sign that say Bernardo, and they got cranes in the side. So it's pretty cool. I mean, they're always there because when they spend that money for that sign, it's telling you that they're gonna be there. I wish the picture came up, but that was the picture. It said you drive through it, and you got the cranes. I said Bernardo, pretty cool. So I knew I was gonna see one. That's one of the best photos that I took from them, real close. I had the 600-millimeter lens, so I was next to them plus the lens. So I got a great photo, I think. Oh, I went too far. Maxwell, it was coming back. It's real close to the Colorado border. The red-tailed hawk. It's not that big. What I did, I just parked in the parking area, and sure enough, I couldn't see them right across the border, and I could have saved a bunch of money. I didn't have to go to Bosque Del Apache. But I went there after Bosque Del Apache, and I stopped there coming back. Like I say, I always do a map read. Okay, this is the route that I'm taking in my trips, and I go to eBird and start looking all the hotspots in the route. And depending, if I'm in a hurry or not, I stop and check it out real quick. So that's what I did with Maxwell. It wasn't in the original trip, but I had the time and it was real close to the highway. So I did stop there. Hey, Bosque del Apache, for some reason, I had a good picture from this here. Bosque del Apache, this was the reason of the trip. If you've never been here, I recommend that you go. It is amazing. It is amazing. I believe that was a northern harrier, western bluebird. Bosque del Apache is mostly driving and stopping next to the lakes. That's what most people do. They drive, get out, and they start looking at the birds. They got a bunch of little lakes all over the place, and it's like a valley. Like in that area, New Mexico is pretty much flat, but you got some mountains in the far side. Here, this is the crane that I saw, only like 3 or 5, I believe it was, and they were far. I'm using the 600-millimeter here, and you can see how far they are. And 2 eagles, I believe that's a juvenile and an adult. And they had a golden eagle too. So they had all kind of raptors out there. Now, I didn't get to see the sandhill cranes that many, but this year, the snow goose, I say you got to go there to see what you're about to see right now. This was a surprise to me, what you guys are about to see. And I didn't know about it. I wasn't prepared with my camera to take the photo that I'm about to show you. And I was told in the evening, when these guys start coming in, there was a bunch of people next to the lake, and they told me, you got to come back tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning. I said, why? Oh, you got to see, you got to see. I said, okay. So I did went the next morning, and this is what I saw. And like I say, I'm pretty new with the camera. I didn't know what setting to use to take this photo, so I did my best. Those are snow goose. There are thousands of them, okay? And this made the trip because the sandhill crane didn't make it for me in Bosque del Apache. They let me down. But this year made the trip. They went in the evening from that lake. I guess they moved late at night after I left, and they went to this lake. And this is where they told me to go. So I guess it's like that's what they do. They go to this lake because they told me, go to this one, don't come here. Be there at 5:30. Thousands of them. As soon as the sunrise start coming up, they start moving and flying and flying. I mean, it is spectacular. I was about 6 people around me and a bunch of photographers and people, I mean, a bunch. One of the photographers, they were talking and one of the guys, oh, I'm recording, you guys gotta keep it down. Or shut up. I mean, he got mad because I don't know where he came from, but he was there seriously recording. So that's how serious this is. And I guess it's well known, but I didn't know about it. It was a surprise to me. Maybe somebody here with experience with Bosque Del Apache know about this. I mean, there was people with better cameras and better lenses than me, trust me. This is already the daylight's coming up, and you can see here, there's still in the lake. There's so many of them. All right, Texas. So Texas is huge. I believe it's one of the states with the most birds, I believe. Somebody can correct me on that. So the first trip that I took was in November. And I went from here to Killeen. From Killeen, I went to Austin. From Austin to San Antonio. From San Antonio to Brownsville. And I went to the border. From there, I went to South Padre Island. And then I turned around. The second time, basically the same, San Antonio. I went through Brownsville again, but I went to San Pedro Island and I went north to Mustang Island. And I got lucky there. And I'll tell you when I get there. And then I just turned around. I didn't took the ferry. You can take the ferry and go to Corpus Christi and come that way, but I just turned around. So those are the 2 trips that I took in Texas. And no other locations are here that I went to. There were so many of them that I didn't know how long this talk gonna take me, so I didn't put all of them. So if you want to, you can send me an email. I can give you my email and I can tell you the other places. Okay, Mills Pond Recreation Area. It is very nice. Okay, it is, I believe it's between Austin and San Antonio. And it's in a residential area, but it's very nice. And you can see a northern cardinal. A yellow crowned night heron, first time I seen it. It was there. One of the photos that I'm gonna raffle is that one. I was the, man, I'm pressing too hard. Yeah, what was it? You go back, Tali. Okay, don't worry about it. Anyway, the warbler and the black crested Timmy house, all these birds, first time I seen them. This year, they got like a little pond with running water with a blind. So you approach the blind, you sit down, and it's wooded, and you just wait, and all kind of birds come to you. So it's pretty cool. So they got it set up for birding, and it's a beautiful. I recommend that you go there if you ever in the Austin area. Okay, LEONABELLE TURNBULL Birding Center. This is the one in Mustang Island. I got lucky. There was a big storm in the Atlantic. And So it is in Port Aransas. And it is a birding center. Got a bunch of trees where the birds go, and then they got like a walkboard with a lake. But so it's pretty cool, and it's next to a, if I remember right, it's next to a black water processing place. So it's very interesting. It's not that big. You don't walk at all, just a little bit. Definitely, if you're down there, you got to go to this one. So anyway, there was a storm and all the birds crashed in the trees, resting and eating. When I got there, I saw like 50, 60 birders in a line with cameras and the binos. And I mean, I said, what's going on? And they told me about the storm. So I mean, I got lucky that I went in, you know, during that time. This is the first time I saw the indigo bunting. First time I saw the bay-breasted warbler. First time I saw the painted bunting. I mean, I didn't move. I just was sitting there with the camera, and they're flying all over the trees, eating it. I mean, that's all they did the whole time I was there. This one was my second trip. So it was in the March time. March. They were coming back from the south. I guess when they were crossing the Atlantic or the Gulf, that's when the storm hit, and they just crashed in Mustang Island. And the thing is, Mustang Island got hit by a hurricane a few years back. So almost all the trees are gone. So that's why this place is so important, and that's why almost it was full of birds, because they hardly no tree in Mustang Island. So it was in the migration coming back, because I went in November because like now I'm going, hopefully I see new birds migrating to Texas south. So I went in March to see them migrating north. So I got lucky that that storm happened. This one here, I'm gonna tell you the truth. They told me that was a Cape May warbler, but up to this day, I'm only 90% sure. So I don't know if somebody with more experience recognize this bird and rest my mind, because up to this day, I keep looking at different, you know, pictures and things, and I just don't know. But they told me over there, a couple people, that it was the Cape May warbler. So yes, it is right. A female. Thank you. So I'm 100% sure now. Like I say, I became a birder. I went back to my photos to see, because people, hey, when you became a birder? I said, I don't know. I was taking pictures and I became one. So I went back to my photos from August when I picked up the camera, and I started taking bird pictures more and more by the middle of September. By October, I had so many of them. They were horrible. I mean, and so I went right away down there in November, and then I went back in March. I went to Florida. So like I say, I got hooked. South Padre Island. This was, I believe, was in November, the migration going south. This photo is from Laguna Madre Nature Trail, okay? There is there's a center next to it that you pay for it, but this one is free. So they're side by side, and you're basically gonna see the same. Different boardwalks, but one you pay and one you don't. Okay, so I went to the free one. because in the one that you pay, they got a couple other things. But basically, you are walking in the same marshal area, different boardwalk. Now, before I got to San Padre Island, there's so many places to stop to see shorebirds. I mean, just the drive from Brownsville to San Padre Island, you can spend all day birding. That's how many places are there. And they're in eBird too. Or you just stop. You see a body of water and just stop, and you can start a checklist. Before I got here to San Padre Island, I did maybe 3 or 4 checklists, but places that eBird was showing. And when I was in the Audubon Center in San Antonio, I paid to go with the guy, and I told him, "Hey, I'm going all the way here. Can you help me out with this shorebird?" And because I could not make it out even, I mean, with photos. And so if you are not up to shorebirds, it is interesting. A little blue heron, you can see it's in the boardwalk. First time. Almost everything from Texas and Florida. Florida trip is not here, but almost all the birds are new to me. And when I did the slide, I was looking for birds that, you don't see in Colorado. Most of the pictures are, birds that you don't see in Colorado. Tricolor heron. I got a couple pictures with a fish that she took. She was fishing in front of me and shooting from the boardwalk. That's why the angle is like that. It is a nice area because you go to the ocean too, so you can see the pelicans, all the seagulls, all kind of stuff. New bird too, the common gallinule. Yeah, they got these birds in Florida too. Okay, this photo here is not the greatest, but it took me 3 tries to find him. Believe it or not, I saw the picture. I said, I ain't leaving San Padre Island without seeing it. So I keep going back and back until I finally saw him. But I was pretty new with the camera. I picked up the camera in August. This is in November. So I still learning the camera. So the picture is not the greatest, but I got an amazing one in Florida with a broken camera. I broke my camera in Florida. $4,000 gone. Yep. I left it in the top of the car and I drove away. So I did what the Army does. The Army do dummy cores. So if I don't want to lose this, I just dummy core to my equipment. So now I got my camera dummy core to my backpack. I would never leave it in top of the car again. So I got a dummy core. But this is the Rosetta, what is it? Rosy spoonbill. It's beautiful. And I've seen it fishing, and it's pretty cool the way he do it. It is a beautiful bird. Okay, Mitchell Lake Audubon Center. This place here, the checklist that I've been here, I believe is twice, and then I had to cut one trip short because something happened that we left real quick. But I've been there twice, 3 times, and I try to go on weekends to get the tour. It's just south of San Antonio, not too far. So if you're ever in San Antonio, this is the place that I recommend to you. And if you go on weekends, the tour is real, like $7, $8. 5, something like that. And the guys are very knowledgeable by sound and by sight. So I just, they do the checklist and they share it with you. And this is where I told the guy, hey, I'm going all the way to South Padre Island. Can you help me out with bird identification? Because I knew I was in trouble getting, all the shorebirds. And sure enough, I just took the pictures and sent them to them, and they ID the birds. They helped me ID the birds. I try to do my own ID so I can learn, but a lot of the time I wasn't sure. So I just said, hey, this is this. I got corrected maybe 70% of the time. And I got corrected, believe it or not, here in Colorado, I've never been corrected, maybe in eBird with pictures. In Texas and Florida, they look at those eBird checklists. I've been corrected in Texas like 4 times, and in Florida maybe twice, including one of the guys of Texas got corrected. And he knew the guy that corrected him, and they went back and forward for a couple of days, fighting each other. I just say, man, I'm going with the eBird guy because, the eBird guy, because, that's what he wanted me to change it to. But they were fighting each other. That's how intense down there in Texas. So this place, they got a nice building with a lot of, like a garden. You can sit in front of the building, around the building, and you can do a night checklist. You don't even got to move. That's how they got it set up. They got a little trail to go to the bathroom, and just going to the bathroom, you can do a checklist. That's how many. I had a 58 birds in my checklist, and I believe 2 other people saw another 10 extra birds in one little trip. That's how many birds are in this place. If I remember correctly, this is it used to be like black water, and they cleaned the waters, and it became a bird center now. So it's pretty cool. You drive, you can walk, but it's big. So you drive, stop, and you do the checklist like this. My first American golden plover, and the guys over there, they ID these birds. I mean, they all look the same to me, even now sometimes. Even here, the few that we see here, those shorebirds, it's hard to ID for me still. First time seeing the ladderback woodpecker. Sisotele flycatcher. This bird is beautiful. I never got a decent picture, standing still. Every time I saw them, he was flying. So this is the best picture that I got. And I got the center of the body nice. And then, that fly action, that moving action. So I like this picture a lot. That's a row, by the way. So that's the only thing I don't like. If I was an expert in Photoshop, I would put something else. But yeah, I love this picture here. It is a beautiful bird. First time seeing it. The long-billed doe wisher. Like I said, so many shorebirds over there. I saw it in the Brownsville area too, and in South Padre Island. They're all over the place down there in Texas. New Braunfels, Texas. This is beautiful. This is a park. They got a little river, the canal that you see here, and then they got this marshal area, like a lake. And they got more stuff because it's like it's the city park. But it is beautiful. You bring a picnic basket and you can be there all day. And if this is German town, basically. It's a lot of Germans settle here. And I never went to the German restaurants, but they got a couple. So you like German food. It's the beginning of what they call the hill country. If you know a little bit about Texas, Texas do have the high ground. Anyway, so it's the beginning of the hill country. It's just north of San Antonio, northeast. But the traffic is horrible going up there. So be aware of that if you're coming from San Antonio. If you're coming from here, take the high. Don't take the highway. Go the back country. Go through the high country, and it's beautiful driving the hill country. It's called LANDA Park. They got a trail, but don't take it. I didn't see no birds in the trail, and I walked like 2 miles, maybe see a couple birds. It was a waste of time. I should have stayed in the park. It's the first time I saw the golden-fronted woodpecker. They're beautiful, as you can see here. Let me see. I believe this is the first time I saw the red-shouldered hawk. It was flying right above the lake. Good story. You can go down to San Antonio, downtown San Antonio, and do by the zoo, and you can do birding along the river. And the first time I saw this bird, my phone rang, and it was my wife. And I was like walking, and they say, "Oh, should I, let me stop and talk to her, right? So I can concentrate when I start walking, looking for birds." So that phone call, me stopping and talking to her, when I put the phone away, and I just, let me stay in the camera. I did a left turn and took 2 steps, and this bird landed in front of me in the ground. Then he perched, and I took 3 amazing pictures of this bird in the trees next to the San Antonio River in downtown by the zoo. So I guess they're pretty common down there. It is beautiful. And I like birds of prey myself. So I was very excited when I saw him. But that was in downtown San Antonio. But this one is in New Braunfels. So that phone call was the first time I saw this bird. The Egyptian goose. They're beautiful too. Now, the way I understand it is that they don't belong here, but they're here now in the United States and in Europe. That's my understanding. Can anybody with more experience? That's what I read, that they don't belong in the United States. Excuse me? Yep. Yeah, they are. So they are all over the Texas down there too. I've seen them in about 4 or 5 locations. And something interesting, they always in pair. So I don't know if they, they pair up and stay with, together for the rest of their life. But every time I saw them, I always saw them in pair. So I don't know if that's significant or not. Yeah. But they are beautiful. Neotropic cormorant. If you go to the zoo in San Antonio, be careful. There are hundreds of them. I mean, hundreds. And they are above you, and you know what I'm talking about. But you can see here, I mean, they're different from the double-crested, but you can tell I mean, they're everywhere down there, especially in San Antonio. There's so many of them by the zoo. So many. Okay, Aransas National Wildlife Refuge. This is big. You're definitely gonna be driving. It's next to the Gulf. You do different checklists, because it's so big. They got little lakes, the shoreline. They have an area with 2 platforms that you go above the trees and you can see miles and miles and miles. So I did a multiple checklist this day that I went here. This is the crested caracara. I believe they got the nickname is the Mexican eagle. The Mexican eagle. It took me the whole trip to see one. And this is pretty far. I cropped this picture. I saw it from a high ground. And this is the backs out of the whole series that I got. And it's cropped pretty good. The black neck slit. Huh? It's a little video. In this place, I saw for the first time at least a quarter of a mile. My goodness, the big heron. Huh? No. The one that is in danger. Whooping crane. So let me tell you the story. So I'm in the biggest platform above the tree line. And I got my expensive scope, the big one. I got the binos and I'm scanning. And suddenly, far away, I saw this white thing out of, I knew it was something because the shape, it was next to the coastline, just like this, in the water with green. And in the second platform below me, they're aluminum platform, they're nice. There's a ranger with a bunch of students. So, I put the scope and I look at it, I say, man, that gotta be the whooping crane. So I scream at the ranger, hey, whooping crane, 11 o'clock, about a quarter of a mile. He go like this. Yep, she's not supposed to be here. They're supposed to be gone, good find. I said, that's a lifetime bird for me. I was so excited, but I didn't even pick up the camera. It was so far away, but it is huge. And I believe there was a couple, the great heron, the great heron, the white one. She was next to them. There was a couple of them, and they're like little tiny compared to the whooping crane. That's a big deal. They do trips that you pay, and they got, they know where they at. The guys. So I did saw it, but it was so far away. All right. Whoa, that was fast. I was wondering how long it's going to take me. This is my Instagram. I post my photos in Instagram. I do everything. The only thing I don't do is street photography and astrophotography. But I do wildlife, birds, landscapes. So if you guys want to follow me, that's it. If beside these places that I just showed you, there's so many of them. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be this fast. If I knew, I would have put a couple more places. But just go to eBird. Depending where you go, do the article search for best places to bird